Hey everybody, welcome to Meta Busting Monday. Today we're talking about tournaments, how to prepare for them, and maximize your odds of success. Hey everybody, welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Monday and Friday videocast live on Twitch. What's up, Twitch people? And rebroadcast on YouTube. What's up, YouTube people? And of course, you can always listen to us on iTunes. Make sure to please leave a comment. Some of them are absolutely hilarious. Thank you guys for doing that.
They're awesome.
And give us a review. It helps to get our podcast out there to more earballs. That's the scientific term.
It's ear holes.
That's pretty sure it's earballs.
All right.
That's what we're gonna go with.
Nailed it.
Welcome to Meta Busting Monday. Meta Busting Monday is all about focusing on a single topic and giving you guys actionable data and sharing the experience and knowledge we've gained through decades of playing these games. So the topic for today is tournament preparation. How to maximize your odds of success of maximum performance at a tournament. So,
man, you've been playing for decades.
I've been playing this 40K for over 20 years, dude.
Jeez,
isn't that crazy? I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
I haven't even reached a decade yet.
I'm like over. I started playing in junior high, which, you know.
And in the 70s, that'd be really.
Oh, those
really
were the
weird.
days, man.
Man.
Those are the days.
Good old days.
Little disco while we were playing. At any rate, we're going to talk about tournament preparation. There's a lot more to it than you would think. And we're going to really dig in and share some of the experience that we have. And Frankie, while he hasn't been playing as long as I have, he's gone to a ton of tournaments.
Yes.
That's the primary way you play the game, actually. So
I don't play for fun. I play to win.
I play to win, son. And I'm only having fun when I'm winning. So at any rate, we have some news we'll cover really quickly before we dig into that exciting topic. New release this week from Games Workshop is the Armored Containers. Very cool. If you're watching us, we've got a box here. It's a little pricey, but you get a lot for it. And again, this week through Friday, it's 25% off Frontline Gaming. So it'd only be $45, which is a really good deal.
Boom.
You get 3 of the cargo containers. They're really cool looking. And you get a ton of little accessories, which is I'm actually more excited about.
Yeah, the accessories are really cool. But the cargo containers are awesome too.
Yeah, they are really cool. And you get a ton of like little fuel drums, ammo containers. These cargo containers, for some inexplicable reason, have storm bolters on them.
It's just in case.
It's a trap, dude. You could pop out the little hatches and man the storm bolters in case you're riding inside the cargo container.
Yep.
I don't know. Who cares? They're deadly cargo. Deadly as catch.
They really are. The rules, you could roll on it and it like explodes.
I know. You could get an orbital bombardment from inside of a cargo container. I don't know what they're transporting in the 41st millennium, but it's
all sorts of stuff.
It's deadly. So at any rate, that's the new release special for this week. Also pre-order, they have the Scouts versus Gene Stealers game, which I'm forgetting the name of off the top of my head.
It's Lost Patrol.
Lost Patrol. That actually looks pretty cool. That's up for pre-order, as well as start collecting Chaos Space Marines and start collecting Militarum Tempestus. For anybody out there that wants to try and make a list like the one I've been playing, it's a lot of fun.
Let me tell you, that Chaos Space Marine box,
it's a good deal.
You get 10 Chaos Space Marines, my friend.
And a Hellbrute. Don't forget about that Hellbrute. Yeah, okay, so they suck. The models all suck, except the Chaos Lord.
Maybe the rules on that start collecting thing will make them good.
The start collecting rules are good. Okay, the models suck, but it's a good deal financially, right?
The models look so cool, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the Militarum Tempestus, really good deal there as well. You get a Torox command squad and a normal squad.
That's well worth it.
Yeah. If you want to play Militarum Tempestus, which is a lot of fun, I've been really enjoying it. That's a good way to get started.
Yeah.
And that's up for pre-order. And that'll run. The sale on that will run through next Friday. Also got an email from a friend of mine. He after seeing the video battle report, he made a Militarum Tempestus army.
Awesome.
He's been having a blast playing it. Although he said he got seized on by Eldar and the game was over on the first turn, which I can see that happening. But it's a really fun army to play.
Yeah.
So at any rate, that's new releases from Games Workshop. Also, big news. Also, if you want to send in your orders at frontlinegaming.org. Big news, really big news. 2 of these next items. Las Vegas Open registration will open on July 1st. That is a Friday, first day of the month. You'll be able to get your tickets. So make sure to set aside a little bit of money so you can get your ticket. We anticipate some of the events are going to sell very quickly. The 40K Champs obviously always sells really, really fast.
Yeah.
And the War Machine and Hordes event, we anticipate it's going to sell really quickly. I was up at Lock and Load this last weekend. Super fun. It was great to see. I saw a bunch of our friends from the Bay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a bunch of guys that I had no idea they were going to be there. That is a really cool event.
It looks cool.
The venue is gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. And
Yeah.
the giant models are so cool.
They had true scale Khador Manowar and Ironclad for Signar Warjack.
So cool.
Like if you saw it was huge, right? Like if you saw one of those things running down the battlefield at you, you would crap your britches.
I wonder how much it is to actually get one of those made. It's probably very expensive.
I want one of me in Terminator armor.
I want one of Horus just holding me in his arms.
Gently,
Yeah.
rocking him. You're touching his face.
Thanks, buddy.
It was a really fun event. I highly recommend it for anybody that wants to go. The War Machine and Hordes Fat Mats were a hit. They were on every table. They sold out in like 6 hours.
That's crazy.
I got bumped onto a later flight, and by the time I got there was only 3 left. I was like, holy crap.
They're a hit.
Yeah, so really, really cool to see how popular they were. And I was walking around talking to people, and like everyone knew about the LVO.
That's awesome.
Like I was handing out cards for it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like I've already heard of it. A lot of people are planning on going." So, July 1st, mark your calendar. We anticipate that some of the more popular events are going to sell out pretty quickly. So you want to make sure you jump in there and grab those tickets when they go for sale.
Yep.
Also, big news for also the same crowd of people. The next ITC update poll is going to be going live next week. We'll keep you dialed in as to exactly what day, because we're hammering out all the questions. But make sure that you're prepared for that. We're going to cast our votes. The polls run for a week as normal, and then we'll talk about it on the next podcast after the polls go live, and we'll let everybody know how it went.
Yeah.
This is a big one.
This one's going to be probably one of the biggest that we've ever had.
Yeah. There's a lot of material to cover. A lot. We got to talk about Death from the Skies. We got to talk about some of the FAQ rulings, even though that won't impact the ITC until they become official. I think we're going to jump ahead, get in front of some of them, and put questions like for example, the one we're getting like a ton of feedback on is like the grenades. Mm-hmm. Like if this ruling sticks in the GW FAQ, how do we want to handle it? Because I think I've talked to one person in total that actually likes that ruling. Yeah. Every other person I've spoken to has been like, the FAQ was great, but I really don't like that one.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah. And then one of the rules changes that we're looking at proposing is offering for the community to decide if we would like for walkers to be able to choose to have an immobilized result become a weapon destroyed result instead.
Yeah.
And the reason that we would be doing this is that pretty universally people think walkers are underpowered. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yep.
But the big problem is Grav. Grav is too good. I think everybody can agree on that. But immobilizing walkers specifically just makes so many of them unplayable. You just don't see them in tournaments anymore.
No.
Like Mauler Fiends, any kind of melee dreadnought. Because it's like, oh, one errant grab shot, oh, you're out of the game. So, and it's not fun. We all want to see dreadnoughts on the table. They're rad.
Dreadnoughts are awesome.
Yeah. So in order to mitigate that, we're going to propose that as a rules change for this vote for this quarter, and we'll see how people react to it. I think that it'll pass. I'm
Maybe.
pretty confident.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So
we'll definitely see. So anyway, in other news, we finally got started with our Age of Sigmar Learning League battle reports. We've all been working on our first 25 wounds. Rod Argan and I played a game, my Wood Elves versus his Khorne Bloodbound army. We had a blast. I had so much fun. We played like a modified ITC scenario.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of people have been doing this. They've been using the ITC missions in Age of Sigmar with just some slight modifications. We had so much fun. You know, the first time Frankie and I played the game, I actually didn't enjoy it very much.
No.
It was boring. It was kind of boring. Like we just moved in the middle and just nothing. There was no movement.
Yeah.
And so with the scenarios, a lot of people have been playing the Games Workshop scenarios, which are a lot of fun. You have to move around. There was objectives. There was multiple paths to victory. We really had a super fun game.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to playing my first game too. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those little fat little dwarves. But it was super fun. I was hyped. I already put together my tree man, which you can see here if you're watching us. Already was like immediately Jason and I started talking about like how we were gonna what we were gonna add to our army to make it more well-rounded. Really growing on me. I enjoyed it very much. It's cool because it's straightforward in the rules. Like you do have to out of the box. It's not really playable in my opinion. We've modified it somewhat.
Yeah.
Not very much though, really. Like we just added in missions that were more complex, wound cap, and then we just said like summon units can't summon units.
Yeah.
Because that's silly. But
it's the only limits that we put in place. So.
Yeah, we're pretty much playing it out of the book, and you can't take duplicate name characters.
Yeah.
Just because that's silly too. You know, like. So at any rate, it's been really fun. Like everything dies, nothing's invincible. Movement's important when you have good scenarios. So I have to say, I'm genuinely enthused. I'm looking forward to playing another game.
Yeah. And
the miniatures are amazing.
The miniatures are incredible. You were saying that your tree man was pretty hard to put together, though.
It was way more complex than I thought. It took me a lot longer than I thought. But I looked up the rules for Durthu, this guy. Dude, he's a chief. His sword, when he's at max health, it automatically does 6 wounds. I was like, what?
Jeez.
That guy's just a badass, dude. He just runs up, he's like, hiya! So yeah, if you play against this guy, you want to put some wounds on him immediately. Yeah. Otherwise,
goodness gracious.
Yeah, he'll kill anything and with a pow. Yeah, really fun. So we'll see how that goes on the tabletop. Last piece of news before we jump into our topic for the show. Frontline Gaming is looking for more content producers. If you like to write tactics articles, humor articles, opinion editorials on the state of the game, battle reports, if you make videos, hobby tutorials, for any game system too, Dropzone Commander, Heavy Gear, Malifaux, War Machine Hordes, Age of Sigmar, we are looking for more people to join our team. We do compensate you with stored credit for certain types of content, not for everything. If you make videos, we'll send more people to your YouTube channel. You'll get more subscribers, more views, more ad revenue if you advertise on your channel. So hit us up at contact@frontlinegaming.org. We're looking for more. If you've already written in, just bear with me. We had a big response.
That's great.
Yeah, so it may take me a couple days to get back to everybody, but I promise I will do so. And our blog is pretty dang popular. It's one of the more popular hobby blogs for tabletop gaming out there on the web right now. So your content will get seen by tens of thousands of people. You'll get recognition. It's really cool. And we have a Facebook group for our creative team, and we help each other out and have fun conversations. So you get to be a part of a community too.
Yeah.
So yeah, shoot those in if you're interested in joining the team. All right, we have a ton of ITC events this weekend. I'm not going to read them all. It would take a long time. So if you want to stay up to date on all the ITC events that are occurring, go to the ITC tab at frontlinegaming.org. Click on it. Just scroll down to the month and weekend that's coming up, and there's like 14 events this weekend.
Yeah.
All around the world.
It's growing so fast.
Although we should mention the GT. There is a GT level event in Lesne Manory, or in Lodz, Poland, but it's called Old School Lesne Manory. I'm sure I sound like an idiot.
I think you nailed it.
All the Polish people out there are like, what?
They're like, oh, geez.
Who is this? And then come
on.
But so we've got a GT event in Poland, so get those points. All right. Let's do this.
Let's dive right in.
Let's belly flop onto the pool of knowledge
I'm going to...
we're about to share.
Can opener it. Or
You're going to give a jackknife?
Jackknife, there you
go. All right, so let's talk about tournament preparation. This is a pretty involved topic. There's a lot more to it than you would think. But when you go to a tournament, tabletop gaming tournament, we're specifically going to be talking about 40K, but this could apply to any event or any game. You want to come into it prepared mentally, logistically, having practiced, and all these little things can help to maximize your odds of success or to make sure that you do as well as you can do at the event. And there's kind of 3 different ways to approach this. Like, there's the logistics of just, physically having everything ready to go.
Yeah.
There's the preparation aspect of it, just practice, mental preparation, and then what you do at the event, and then what you do after the tournament too. Those are all important parts of making sure you have the best experience possible and you perform as well as you can.
Yeah.
So before you go to a tournament, before you do anything else, in my opinion, the first step is logistics. Right? This is a physical game, it's a tactile game. You have models, you have dice, you have little bits and bobs and all kinds of little pieces. You want to make sure that you're prepared logistically so that you're not, you're not disrupting your calm and your focus by trying to move your models from one table to the next, always looking for your tape measure, trying to borrow someone's pen, all this crap. So first things first, make sure that your army is as close to fully painted as possible. Make sure that your army's prepared. You don't want to be packing your army the day of the event. We've done that before. And it kind of disrupts your flow, right? Like
it does, yeah.
If everything's ready to go the day before the event, it's all packed up, ready to go, you're more focused and your mind is more focused.
I think actually something that goes before that is make sure to have your travel plans all set up ahead of time.
That's a good point.
Like even a month ahead of time.
If you're flying
or
you're
you're driving or whatever,
yep.
Make sure you have people to carpool with or know what time you need to leave, what time the event starts, all that, so you're not running around the morning of. So.
Yeah, you want to take away all that preparation work, even a week out, right? Like get that done and off your plate so that you're not cluttered in your mind before you go. Try to make sure your army is as close to fully painted and based as you can. Not only because I think it will make you play better. You have more investment into what you're doing. It's a courtesy to the other people there that have spent all that time and energy painting their army.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to come with a fully painted army and see an unpainted army across the table. It happens. I do it sometimes too. But it's just, that's a part of what we're doing, right? It's a hobby and it's a tournament. So do your best, right? To get it 3 colors based. It makes the game more fun.
It does. It really does.
It really does.
Playing gray on gray is not that much fun.
No. And I feel like it makes you play better because you care more about the investment you've made into the army.
For sure.
So make sure that that's taken care of as close to as best you can. Step 2 is make sure that you have a way to move your army efficiently from table to table at a tournament.
That one's super important.
It eats up a lot of the time.
Not just that, but like I've gone to tournaments where like I didn't have anything to transport it, so you're like grabbing models and bringing them over, and then halfway through the game I realized that I forgot a model, and I'm like, oh shoot, all right,
yeah,
great.
And it clutters your mind. You're like, oh man, I got to move all my stuff, and I'm throwing it into a box, and then now I got to put it back out on the table for the next game.
Yeah,
I'm not prepared. You could be wasting time, which is really disrespectful to your opponent, because you're taking 10 minutes just to get all your crap over to the next table. And now it's going to be less time to play the game. You want to be prepared, even if it's as simple as like a lunch tray or a cardboard box lid. You know what I mean? You want to have an efficient way to move your army from A to B. And what I have found, in my opinion, is the absolute best tool is a table or display tower. When you're at a tournament, I swear it's the best thing to have, right? Because you put all your guys in their tray. You can at a glance tell you've got all your stuff, the units there. You take it out, put it out, pop them out. And as you're playing, you can put them right back in.
Yeah.
It really is the best at the event. They made a really good product from moving from A to B or just having a display board.
Yeah, another really easy way is if you're at a hotel and you're going to go, you use the little thing that the coffee comes on or like a dinner tray or something like that. And you just clear everything off of it, take it down. It's free. You can return it and all that stuff. And it actually works really well as long as you don't have a massive army. But
I did that at Adepticon at the old hotel every year.
Yeah.
I just took the coffee tray and then you put it back when you're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to make sure that you can move everything efficiently from A to B and you're not wasting anybody's time and that you're good to go.
Yeah.
And that will help you prepare for your next game. You'll come to the table and you're ready. Another thing in that same vein is make sure that you have your dice ready to go. And a trick I have found that helps them to make my mind, to free up brain space to focus on the game, is I have enough dice specifically for that army. And this helps speed things up. The example I use in the notes is when I play my Astra Militarum army, the most dice I'll ever need is 23. And that's when I shoot my vultures. I have 20 dice for their Punisher cannon, 3 dice for the heavy bolter on the chin. So I keep 23 dice, 20 big dice, 3 little dice. And I just have them there ready to go. So that when I shoot the vulture, I don't have to count dice, I don't have to sort them, I pick up all of them.
Yeah.
And I roll it. The little ones are not twin linked, the big ones are. Easy. And then when I put them on my side of the table, I put them in groups of 4 or 5. And that way when I use other units, it's super quick. I have 10 shots because I'm shooting my veterans at max range, whatever. 2 piles, roll. You'll play quicker, and you have to spend less time like sorting and picking through your dice, and more time thinking about what you're trying to do.
Yep, you don't have to double count and all that. You know what stacks are what. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone's free to do whatever they want, but I find that if you just have all your dice, they're uniform, they're ready, it makes it easy for your opponent too. You know what I mean? Like you don't have 20 million different kinds of dice, and it's all confusing and shitty, and you're always picking and sorting, and it just eats up time.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have all of your templates, your tape measure, all those things ready to go. Make sure you have a pen. I always forget to bring a pen.
Pen or a pencil is like super important, but templates are also really important, and I'm terrible at it, but I usually forget my templates. And then you have to walk around, try to find templates.
Somebody have a template.
So your opponent probably doesn't have his either. Templates are actually one of the things that burn up a lot of time.
It does. You want to make sure you have them. And again, this all goes into being prepared the night before.
Yep.
Pick your army in your bag, put your templates in, and then if you need anything like wound counters, shake and stun markers, smoke markers, flame markers, they help the game a ton.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Right? Again, it keeps the bookkeeping accurate for you and your opponent. And if you have them all ready to go in your bag in the one pocket that it goes in, you're more prepared. And then again, bring a pen. You always need one.
Pens are super important.
And I always forget, but I just leave one in my bag.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have all of your rules. This is really important. When you come to a tournament and someone goes, oh, what does that do? Or can you show me in the book? Or I don't have it. Well, that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, a lot of tournaments actually require you to have the rules, so you're actually breaking the rules by not bringing it. So.
Yeah, and if you've got a Forge World unit, just if you need to, just photocopy a part of it.
Or put sticky notes in your book so you can easily access the different pages that you'll need. But photocopy is like one of the easiest. You just photocopy the page right before you go to the event. Super easy, rather than lugging around 10 books.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because now we're all drawing from so many different sources, from so many different books.
Yeah.
What I do now sometimes is I bring the one book that has the majority of my rules, and I just photocopy all the other units. I staple it into a pack, and that way I just got one book, my packet, and then it's if my opponent needs to look at something, I go, oh, here you go, no problem. Really easy. But make sure you're prepared. It's discourteous to your opponent to not have the rules. And like Frankie said, it's usually breaking the rules.
Yeah.
And make sure you're prepared. You have all that ready to go. And then make sure you have a copy of your list for each opponent to give them, right? It's just a courtesy, and it's nice to do.
Yeah.
And that way, if your opponent wants to take your list with him to study it later, if you beat him, he can go, okay, what was so good in this? And then, of course, they need to go look at it before the game starts, and it's just a courtesy you have to have your list for them to look at. Don't handwrite your list. That's so janky. Print the damn thing out.
Yep. And
my preference is to have a very clean, short, like one-page print. I just do the name of the unit, the size, and if they have any upgrades or alternate war gear. But some people like Army Builder or Battle Scribe that gives you a lot more information. They tell you the stats. They give you like sometimes the rules of the unit. And those are good. I actually don't like those because when I'm at the table, it's just too much information.
Yeah, I usually can't cipher out what's in it. So I wait until they put their army down and then I ask any questions.
Right. So those are logistical steps. Those are things that are really important. They don't seem that important, maybe to especially to people who don't go to tournaments all the time, but they really help a lot.
They help out a lot.
They do. They free up bandwidth to focus on playing the game. So step 2 in getting ready to go to a tournament and perform at your best level is preparation. This is probably the step that most people would jump to immediately. So the first and most important thing you can do to maximize your success at a tournament is to read the player packet.
Yes. Nobody ever does it, but read the player packet. You'll have less questions. You won't be running around. You'll know the answers to questions that if people ask you, it really clears up a lot of stuff. So
it really does, and it seems like a face palm, but I swear this is the number one thing you can do to maximize your odds of success.
Yeah.
Read the dang packet. Read it in advance. Read it twice. Make sure that you look at the FAQ. Now, if it's an ITC format event, this is one of the main reasons that we established the ITC. Is it takes this step out of the equation because you're probably already familiar with it. Yeah. If they're playing ITC scenarios and they're using the ITC FAQ, you don't even really have to think about it too much. You can go in and review it, but if it's a tournament using different format, make sure you're familiar with it before you get there, so you're not trying to figure out the mission at the table while you've got 20 other things you're trying to do.
Yeah, and be careful because a lot of ITC events do make minor changes, but usually it's only like 1 or 2 things. So definitely read the player packet. Also, player packets tell you what the schedule is. That's one of the main questions that you get as a TO.
Of the number one question.
What time is lunch over? When's the next round? It's in your player packet. Read the player packet.
We get asked that question 80 gazillion times. Now I just go, it's in your player packet.
Yeah.
Like, just to try and condition people to just look.
Yeah.
But then it's funny because I'll be at a tournament sometimes and I'll ask that question. I'm like, I'm a part of the problem.
Yep.
Also, practice the missions. Again, this might seem like a kind of a suggestion, but you would be surprised how many times people don't ever play the missions before they arrive at the event. Like, for example, at Nova last year,
I didn't play them.
You had a good shot to win the whole thing. But if you had practiced the missions, you made a couple mistakes.
I made a mistake every single mission.
That was pertained to how to play the mission.
Yeah, I didn't. Like, I read the mission, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'd mark it down, and then halfway through the game, I'd be like, man, I could have played this so much better. Yep. What am I doing?
And all you have to do is play each mission once before you go.
Yeah, it lets you know what kind of tricks there are, what your army actually performs better at. It really helps out. Definitely, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and then, like, for Adepticon, I played each mission once, and it helped me so much.
Yeah.
If some jerk hadn't have beat me that one game, I would have made the finals. Looking at you, Francis.
Oh, dude, I beat that ice.
You spanked my booty. I was looking pretty good until that one turn when I literally didn't kill a single model, and I was like,
your Alpha Strike was brutal.
Yeah.
I was like, geez.
You were sweating a little bit. And so practice makes the master, of course, but you want to practice the missions, familiarize yourself with them. Because ideally what you want to happen is the mission fades into the back of your consciousness, and your focus, your active conscious mind is thinking about how to win the mission, not how to play the mission.
Yep.
And again, with the ITC format, that's one of the things we wanted to do, was to throw it out there like, let's standardize this a little bit so that people can play their best game, not trying to figure out a scenario that's new to them. Because you're not going to play your best game the first time you play a mission, obviously.
No. And something that I think is even more important than that is definitely practice with your list. The exact list you're going to be taking, it helps so much. The more games you play, the better you will be with that list. Like in 5th edition, I played the same list almost the entire time. And it didn't really matter what the mission was. I knew exactly how my army would perform in the different aspects. It helps a lot. That's
the next point, and that was a great segue, is practice makes the master, like Frankie said, but it is better to know your army front to back than to keep changing it to what you think is fine-tuning it. The greatest and the latest and greatest net list that you've only played twice, you will not perform as well over a consistent period of time as you will with the army that you have mastered.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tony Kopac's a great example, is he played the exact same list all the way through 5th.
And he won
tournament. 2 Novas in a row, Adepticon. He was just destroying it.
Nick Manavati is another example. Yeah. He plays the same demon list, and he's won more tournaments. He won Adepticon 3 times.
I know.
And it's like these guys aren't constantly changing their army. They're playing the same list because you'll keep hearing us say this, you don't want your cognitive power, right? Your brain processing power. You don't want to be thinking like, oh, what does that unit do again? Or, oh, what was that special rule that I always forget? Yeah. That should be in the background, and your mind should be focused on winning the mission. And if you understand everything in your army like to a T, it's easier to achieve that level of focus.
Yep.
So yeah, play the same list. Stick with it. Yep. You'll do better over time than you will if you're constantly changing stuff. Practice against lists that you're likely to see at the event. In this day and age, that's a little bit more difficult to do. In 5th, you could master the game.
Yeah, anytime you're like, oh, you're playing Space Marines, this is what you're playing. All right, you're playing Grey Knights, I know exactly what you're playing. You're like, this is a lot harder now because there's so many different combinations.
There's an effectively infinite variety, which is the beauty of 7th edition.
Great.
That's the best part. It does make mastering a game more challenging. So what you want to do, though, is hedge your bets, right? Okay, you know you're going to be playing some Eldar. Just assume it. It's probably going to be Warp Spiders and Scat Packs. Probably going to be a Wraith Knight. Just prepare yourself for that. You're probably going to be playing against Riptides, so make sure that you're prepared for that. There's probably going to be some Knights. You know what I mean? You can kind of get a good feel for the things that you're most likely to encounter and practice against those. Definitely practice against Death Stars because you need to have a strategy in place when you face those armies so that you don't feel overwhelmed or you don't feel like you mentally have lost the game before you've even started playing. Mm-hmm. You want to go in with a plan, and that only comes through experience.
And that's the segue into play against what your list fears. So play against your weaknesses. Play against the list that you hope you don't play at a tournament, just so you know what you can do if you do get that bad match.
Right. You don't need to practice your favorable matchups, right?
No. I mean, you know how it's going to go, but...
Yeah, those are the games you're assuming you're going to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you get the favorable matchup and you play well, you don't make mistakes, you should win, right?
Yep.
Like Frankie said, you need to practice against your worst matchups, your worst deployment, your worst mission. I know some people shy away from that because they don't like it, but if you really want to strengthen your game, you practice the unfavorable matchups. Because in a tournament, the player that can overcome the bad matchups is the one those are the champion players.
Yeah, a lot of really good tournament players will play games in their worst scenario. So they'll basically go, I'm going second, you're going to alpha strike me, I deployed bad, you counter deployed me, let's go. And this is my worst mission.
Yep.
And then they'll see how they'll do. And then a lot of times they don't even finish the game. They just re-rack once mistakes are made and stuff like that. So
some of the hardcore guys will only play the first 3 turns because usually the game goes. We'll segue. That's actually another point. But if you really want to get maximum practice, that's a great way to do it. I know in fantasy I know guys who used to not even roll dice. They would just go with average.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's to try to make maneuver as important as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, practice your bad matchups because that's going to make you'll get more experience and knowledge, and you'll increase your game more in those matchups and those practice sessions than you do against, I'm playing all nights against a guy who has no melted guns. Well, gee whiz, I'm pretty sure I understand how this game is going to go.
Yeah.
Another really good practice method that I have found is swapping your armies. So if you have a person that you play against on a regular basis, and you both have pretty tuned tournament armies, just switch. You guys play each other's army. You'll learn so much about, because it's a very different perspective when you're behind the army, when you're playing the army than when you're playing against it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that you're focused on playing against the army, the other person's focused on the opposite side of it. They're worried about different things. So when you do that, it'll really increase your game. You'll give you a new insight as to how to play against that army.
Yeah.
I found that that's a very good way to strengthen your game. And then, of course, read all the codexes, read all the formations. Knowledge is power.
It's a lot of work, but
it is,
definitely read the popular ones that you think you'll be seeing, because unfortunately people do get rules wrong, and if you know the rules, you'll at least be able to correct them, or if you think you do, at least you can make sure that the rule's correct or whatever. So
yep,
it helps.
Knowledge is power.
Yep.
You don't want to come up against something that does something nasty that you're not familiar with it, and then you get blindsided by it. Yeah. Okay, so part 3 is while you're at the event, it's time to perform. So this is some things you can do to help up your performance when you're at the big event. First of all, take a deep breath. Sometimes before your first game, it can get a little jittery, get a little excited. That's part of the fun of why we go. It's exciting. But just take a deep breath and stay calm, because when you're calm, you can think more clearly.
Yep.
So if you have a little pregame ritual to just kind of get over the jitters of the first game, maybe with your buddies, tell some jokes, whatever, smoke a cigarette if you're a smoker, whatever you got to do. And get yourself mentally prepared to go into that game without getting too antsy. Because I know some people lose in their first game just because they're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, they make errors.
This is I'm going to reiterate this. Always read the mission before you start playing.
That is probably one of the most important rules, because people a lot of times will play the wrong mission, or they'll forget one of the key things in a mission and then lose the game in the final turn because
they lost focus.
Yeah, it happens
all the time. And again, this is like a duh. Like, you would think like, oh, did you even need to mention that? You do. Because even at the highest level play, this happens. Like at the LVO, Aaron Along lost to Steve Sisk. He was in it to win it. He was in the final 4.
Yeah.
Or the final 8. And he was in it to win it, but he didn't understand one aspect of the mission. And that cost him the game because he was playing a different mission than Steve was.
Yep.
And it's just like, and Aaron is an extremely good player.
Yep.
At the highest level, this still happens. So just read the mission and just mentally, okay, yep, all right, this is what I'm trying to do, so that you're on the same page. Also, in the same vein, always review your opponent's army list. Always. So sometimes you hear people get upset because there's something happened that they didn't know. Just look at their army list. Yeah. Ask questions.
The army list will tell you everything, and like Reese said, do not be scared to ask questions.
I always do.
Always do. Some people get really annoyed, like say you ask the same question over and over again, but just keep doing it. It's you're playing against an army. You're more than welcome to ask any questions you want to. So.
But then be reasonable. You don't want to eat up too much of the clock. But you definitely like, one of the things I found is I look at the list. I have a pretty good knowledge of the game, so there's usually very rarely. But if there's ever a unit, I'm like, oh, what's this guy do again? Even if I'm like kind of unclear. Yeah. Like, what was their special trick? What do they do? And then I'll usually just ask my opponent, like, is there anything I need to know about your army? Anything like kind of like out of the ordinary? And always they'll be like, oh yeah, here's something to be aware of.
I usually don't tell people. If they ask me that, I just go, oh, no, just a point on the line, nothing will happen back.
Give them misinformation.
That's what I told Brett, Toon King. And I was like, gotcha.
But yeah, just ask. People are cool, right? Especially before the game starts. People are usually very relaxed. So it's just like, is there anything I should know about? Like, is there any crazy combos or war gear, like, that you think I should know? And usually they'll tell you, right? And then you can kind of like cut through the bullshit. You're like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I know good to go. Because you don't want to have a gotcha moment. Right,
I love the gotcha moments. That's the best.
That's when people get the feel bads, is when there's something in there that they weren't aware of, and they're like, "Oh, mother." You know, all I had to do was ask, you know.
Yep, and it's a good tactic. Just ask if there's anything that I need to know. And people will tell you. Again,
knowledge is key, and if you know what's in their army, you know what to expect before you start playing. Also, define terrain. Always define terrain before
it's very important.
You start playing.
Becomes an issue.
Yep.
A lot of times you'll forget, and then it'll be like, oh shoot, what are we calling this? This really matters now.
Yeah.
And now it's contentious. So.
Yeah, because in feelings, you know, tempers can rise if it's like, oh, I was assuming this was a 4-up, and he's like, I was assuming it was nothing. You're like, oh shit. Because it could really, really put you in a situation where you get dissatisfied because you're playing 2 different games.
Yeah.
So just define your terrain before the game starts. Another big one, and this is one that applies to everybody. Everyone's been here. Stay calm. It's very easy to lose your composure if you're rolling cold, or if you're on your back foot. Like if you get the initiative seized on you, or the first couple turns things aren't going your way. This is my biggest mental hurdle, is that I can get a little negative. I know a lot of people can do this, but stay calm, stay focused. You'd be surprised how often you can pull it out of the fire if you just don't let yourself get demoralized and mentally defeated.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll be getting your butt whooped, but then you just reevaluate and you go, okay, I can actually win the mission by going over here or doing this. If you kill this guy on turn 3, I'll be okay because I'll do this instead. Just stay calm and always remember the mission.
Yep.
A lot of people get bloodthirsty and forget the mission, so you still have a chance even if you're getting your butt whooped.
And it's funny because if you just like run through in your head, like Frankie said, how do I win the mission? Okay, if there's multiple paths to victory, which most tournament missions are, okay, should I abandon this mission? Okay, I'm getting my butt kicked in kill points, but I still have a chance on the Maelstrom, and if I get that one bonus point, I can win.
Yeah.
And just focus on that. Like, how can I win the mission?
Yep.
And don't let yourself get demoralized. It's easy to do. Everyone's been there. We've all felt that.
Yeah.
Also, very important
This one is super important.
This is super important because this is a game played with human beings. We're not playing a computer game.
Yeah.
If you win, be humble in victory. If you lose, be gracious in defeat. Don't be, because the only thing worse than a sore loser is a shitty winner.
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot. And it happens at tournaments all the time. Your buddies will come up and be like, how's the game going? Oh, who won? All this stuff. You just got to be gracious about it. You go, some things went my way. I was able to win the game. Stuff like that. I've played against people where like, oh, I whooped his ass. Like right in front of you, and you're like...
It's so discourteous.
Cool. Or like, I had somebody come up and they're like, oh, how's this game going? He's like, oh, he doesn't have a chance. I'm winning. And then I'm like, oh, really? And then I win. And I'm like,
it's like, oh, I'm crushing him.
But it's just like, just be humble.
Yes.
Definitely. Like you don't need to be like, oh, I'm the baddest, or your army has no chance, or anything like that. Like that doesn't do anything. It just makes you not friendly. Come on.
Yeah, it makes you look like an asshole.
Exactly,
really,
yeah.
and no one likes that.
No.
So be humble in victory. Be, take it for what it is. Like sometimes you might have won because you got lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's happened to me numerous times.
Or sometimes you lost because they got lucky, but there's no reason to throw it in their face. Be like, oh, you got really lucky. That's why you won.
Yeah, you only beat me because of the dice. It just makes you look like a jerk.
Just say, hey, congratulations, good job.
That was a good game. Hey, congratulations on your victory. Mm-hmm. Good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Yep.
And if you win, be like, you know what? Hey, things went my way, and I won. I got lucky.
Yeah.
Just be a gentleman about it, right? Because that can really turn people off.
Definitely.
And I also think it helps you to stay focused too. Like it keeps you mentally focused. Because if you think you're the greatest thing ever, you're more likely to make mistakes. And if you think, oh man, I lost because I suck, you're more likely to make mistakes too. Just keep yourself calm.
That's why I make so many mistakes. I just think I'm the greatest at it all the time.
Well, the funny thing with me is, like, as you guys know, the Rista Coaster, is that when I start losing, I play better. I play so much better, but I'm like, I can get negative.
You convince yourself that you've lost at turn 1 every single game. Sometimes you'll convince yourself you've lost before the game's even started. He's like, oh, I'm going to lose. That's it. You're like, shut up.
I know.
Shut up.
Well, it's funny, though, because like, I think like some part of my brain kicks into overdrive, and I start playing better.
Well, it's because you convince yourself you're going to lose, so you're like, whatever. All right, now I can just do these crazy things. Oh, it worked. People are like, God.
See, we all always have room to improve, even if you've been playing the game as long as I have. The mental, emotional aspect, what we've been talking about a lot, is what separates the good player from the great player. The player that can stay calm, overcome adversity, that can win the bad matchup, that's the player that's going to win the GT. And if you want to be if you want to go win a major, if that's your goal for this year, if you want to win a GT, or just go in the top 10%, that's where the difference is. right? Because two guys can have the same list. It can be a very powerful list. You can both practice it. You can both be prepared. But the player that can stay calm and overcome the bad matchup is the player that will take the next step into the winner's circle. And then lastly, and most importantly, have fun. We go to tournaments to enjoy ourselves. We all hope to win.
Yep.
But only one person wins, right? So your odds are very low that you're actually going to be big winner chicken dinner. So just have fun and enjoy it. Make it an enjoyable experience.
It definitely plays into the stay calm. You know, you've seen people flip out, start yelling, throwing stuff,
which
blah.
Is very rare, but it does sometimes happen.
You just need to stay calm. You're here to have fun. You're playing with toys, with grown men. I mean, come on. Have some beers. Have a good time. Ask the person where they live. Ask the person what they do. You know, get to know them. That's one of the best things about tournaments is meeting all these people. And yeah, a lot of us like to win. I mean, we're all competitive, but you can still be competitive and have fun.
Yeah.
You can lose and have fun. There's no reason to get all butthurt and anything like that. Just go have a good time. That's what it's all about. So
some of the games I've had the most fun is when I just you're getting crushed and you know you're gonna lose, and then you're like, the pressure's off. Like at Nova, I was playing the funniest guy. He had 3 Death Strike missile launchers.
That guy was amazing.
He was such a funny, cool guy. And like he got on turn 2, a Death Strike launched, hit a knight, it blew up, it went D onto my other knight, and I'm like, well, I lost. Let's have fun, right? Like, and then sometimes you just relax at that point, and it's like you don't have to be, salty. Just laugh it off. You're like, okay, well, you know what, you got me. Let's just make this funny at this point.
Like at the Golden Throne a few years ago. Reese and I played in like the semifinals, and I was going into it. 9 times out of 10, my list dominates Reese's list. I was like, "Yeah, dude, I got this." I was talking so much shit, and then the game goes so sideways on turn like 1 and 2. I was the most sour person, and all of a sudden I was like, "Fuck it, let's have a good time."
There came the point I could see it in your face when you went from being like this so disappointed to be like, "Oh, I accept this."
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I needed 4 critical things to go my way to have any chance, and every single thing happened.
It was the most uphill battle I've ever played, but it was a lot of fun.
I was like, yeah. Anyway, it was fun. But yeah, just have fun. That's what you're there to do. You're there to hang out. The camaraderie is the best part of tournaments. It's why we play 40K. It's why we travel around the world now to go to events instead of sitting at home and playing a video game, which is also fun. It's the interhuman interaction. Yeah. So keep that in mind because your reputation is very important.
Oh, that's super important. I mean, you don't want to go up to a table and somebody's be like, "Damn,
I know who this guy is. This is gonna suck." You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy like, "I know who this guy is. This is gonna be an awesome game."
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, keep that in mind, and then just relax and enjoy yourself. So after the event, step 4 of tournament preparation, and this sounds kind of funny, but this helps you roll into the next event. Think about what went right and what went wrong in your games. Usually, like on the trip home, you bullshit with your buddies.
Just replay all the games over in your head.
And think about it and be honest with yourself about your assessment of how you did. If you got lucky, you just be like, hey, you know what? I got lucky. It's not like, oh, I'm the greatest player ever, and I knew I was going to roll 4 6s.
Luckily, that's what goes through my head after every tournament because I'm just the greatest. I don't really have to reflect. I'm like, amazing.
It just comes to you.
Done.
But yeah, just think back about what you did. Okay, in that game, usually you learn more from your losses than your victories. Yep. And you think about, okay, what did I do? I moved to the midfield because I was thinking I was going to be in position to take any of the objectives, but unfortunately that exposed me to a charge from his unit, and then that kind of started the downward slide of my army. Be really honest with yourself. Be like, did I just get outplayed? Like one time with Jeremy Vessier, who was on our team, great player, great guy. He beat me in a game, and he was like, oh, I got lucky. I was like, no, you didn't. I was like, you straight up outplayed me. You outmaneuvered me. And I remember in my head, he and I were talking.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, if you would have, instead of dropping your hammer unit in my backfield, if you dropped him in the middle of the table, you would have been in a position to threaten everything. It would have changed everything I did. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
That one drop pod placement could have turned an ass kicking into a victory.
Yep.
And that's how you learn. That's when you get your best actionable data is after a game when you reflect.
Yep. And also in that stage, it's also really important not to get hung up on it. Like, oh, shoot, I could have done this so much better and get all depressed. Don't worry about it. It's a learning experience. Just don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. And then that ties into the next point, which is evaluate your mental performance.
Yep. Like,
did I lose my composure? If I did, what was the trigger? What was the thing that caused me to get upset and lose my focus? Because we have friends that great players, great list, and something will go wrong, and then they lose their focus.
They just beat themselves.
They beat themselves. Sometimes they'll even quit And it's like, dude, you still win the game.
Yeah.
And think about that and go, okay, what was the trigger that made me lose my focus? Okay, now I know to look for that trigger. And if it happens, how do I calm myself down and get myself back into a state of focus?
Yeah, that's happened to me quite a few times actually, where I'm playing against somebody, and like when I'm looking at a game, I'm usually looking at turn 4 or 5, so I can play it out in my head what's gonna happen usually. So by like turn 2, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna lose the game. This is not good. And then something bad happens for my opponent, and they like quit, and I'm like,
yes,
did it,
mental victory.
Got it.
I've had games where my opponent would literally beat themselves. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, if they do this one move, they got me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I hope they don't see it, and they don't, and because they're down on themselves, and they're like, oh man, and then they make a mental error, and you're like, dude, if you just would have stayed focused, you had me. You didn't see it.
It happens so often.
It does. High level tournament play is all above the neck. It's all about. It's not about your list.
It's all about your looks. I mean,
it's about your mental emotional state. It's about maintaining focus. That is what it's at.
Yeah.
Like that's at the highest level. Kind of below that, you can win on the strength of your list alone. Oh, yeah, when you get up into the kind of the most competitive bracket, the list is not nearly as important as your mental state.
Yep.
That's where you become a champion. So evaluate that too. Think about that. How do I control myself, compose myself? That will help you to be a better player. And then again, of course, more practice.
Yep.
If you lost a game at a tournament, try to replay that game again. Like, even if it's just in proxy, right? Like, oh man, I got smashed. I didn't see that coming. Okay, I'm sticking with this list. How do I overcome that matchup?
Yeah.
And then play with your buddies and be like, hey man, do you mind playing this list? And hopefully you've got the list from your opponent. Put it down on the table. Try it again. A couple times.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, now I know what to do. Next time I face that, I'm going to be good to go. And then lastly, go to a lot of tournaments.
They're just fun.
Besides being a blast and a great way to spend a day or a weekend or 3 or 4 days, it just gets you better.
Yep.
And then the more you go to tournaments, the less you're going to be, the ancillary things aren't going to be clouding your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is going to be focused on winning the mission. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get better. You'll get more experienced, and that's how you get to the top.
Definitely.
So hopefully that was some good data for you guys. Hopefully that was a lot of good advice.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be great at my next tournament.
You've been having a good season. You're in the top 4 in the ITC right now.
Be number 1 here in a couple weeks.
You can't be number 1. That would look so bad. Even though of course it's objective and it's fair. Like we don't even handle the database anymore, but. You can't win the ITC.
It's all about bribes, baby.
That would look stupid.
All about bribery.
But hopefully that helps. Hopefully that got you excited to go out and go to tournaments. That's the whole purpose of the ITC, is to get people to get out there and get involved and play and have fun and join the tournament going community. And hopefully that helped you to up your game.
Yeah, definitely. All
right. We have a completed commission. This one's really cool.
This is sick.
This is a Tabletop Plus Dystopian Wars commission. Dystopian Wars is like a retro future Victorian sci-fi. It's actually air, land, and sea.
Is it really?
They have airships and shit.
What?
There's like the Austro-Hungarian, like Prussians.
Amazing.
It's kind of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of like feel to it. Very cool. And the army is gorgeous. I believe it's a 15mm scale army. But check it out. We'd be happy to paint your next army for you. We have good prices, great artists, and we'd be happy to get that done for you.
This is great.
It is really neat. There's an airship.
Yeah.
That biplanes fly off of it.
So awesome.
It's a lot of fun. There's like the Japanese. I think it's like Japanese and Russians or something like that. Like, really, really cool. Cool looking game.
All right, and list for review. All right, what do we got? We got a Space Wolves list here. All right, so we've got the legendary Great Pack. So the Iron Wolves.
I love the Iron Wolves formation.
Digging it.
Yeah.
We've got a Wolfguard Battle Leader on a Thunderwolf with Power Fist Storm Shield. He's got, let's see, two units of Blood Claws, 5-man with a Flamer one's inside of a Drop Pod, the other one's inside of a Storm Wolf with Multi-Meltas. The Drop Pod also has a Deathwind missile launcher. And the Iron Wolves get free upgrades for their vehicles. Yeah. So you, awesome. You take every freaking upgrade. And the Drop Pod also has a Teleport Roamer. Liking it. Let's see, we've got a unit of 5 Grey Hunters with a Melt Gun inside of a Razorback, Twin Link Glass Cannon, Dozer Blades, Storm Bolter, Extra Armor, and a Hunter Killer Missile. You get everything. Baller. Another 5-man Grey Hunter unit with Melt Gun inside of the same thing. And then a heavy support, he's got Long Fangs with 4 multi-meltas and a plasma cannon. Inside of a Razorback with Twinling Blast Cannon, Dozer Blades, all good upgrades. He's got a Wolfen Murder Pack with 2 5-man Wolfen squads. Pack leader have Frost Claws. Then he has 2 Thunderhammer Storm Shields and a Great Frost Axe.
And he's got the frag launchers too.
Digging it. Then he's got a Space Wolves Death Pack. He's got a Wolf Lord Thunder Wolf Mount,
the Black Death.
And then he's got a 5-man Troop Unit, Grey Hunters, and a Fast Attack Thunderwolf Cavalry, 5-man with Storm Shield, or 3 Storm Shields and 1 Power Fist.
Man, if he's got the Black Death, he should go see the Apothecary and get that taken care of.
Boom!
Gotcha.
Interesting list.
I like the list, actually. So this is a pretty well-rounded list. I think my one biggest recommendation is to get some drop pods for those Wolfen.
Yeah, the Wolfen running across the table, not optimal.
No, they're going to die.
4-up armor. Granted, you have 2 Storm Shields in there, but yeah, 4-up armor save is not that strong.
They hit like a brick shithouse,
yes.
Especially in that formation. They are so deadly that you need a delivery system. I mean, they can ride into the Razor. No, they can't, actually, can they?
I think
they can. Yeah, no, they can. They can. Yeah. So they're bulky, so they can jump in. Oh, no, they can't go in the Razorback because it only holds 6 and they're bulky. You need a Rhino. But I would recommend getting drop pods for them somehow. Maybe instead of the Death Pack, which I believe is the start collecting formation.
I think so.
I would maybe even go with a CAD or an allied detachment, even just 1 drop pod. It'll really make a big difference to put those Wolfen where you want them.
Yeah.
Or even get a Rhino and have them jump in the Rhino, even though it's a little tough because they can't assault for a while.
Yeah.
That's my biggest piece of feedback.
I'd also give the Long Fangs, this is the second time I've said this, but get rid of the multi-meltas. Take missile launchers. Missile launchers are great. They sit in the backfield, shoot downrange, super strong. The multi-meltas inside of a Razorback are, because you'll have to move, you have to get into the right position, then jump out. They're not as effective.
Yeah, I agree. The multi-meltas, you have to put them in a drop pod if you want that to work. In which case, you'd even want to consider putting in like a captain with cataphracti armor to give them slow and purposeful so they can shoot.
Yeah.
And I know the plasma cannon's there because you have split fire, but as soon as the sergeant, or actually no, I think the unit just has split fire.
They just have split fire.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, but I still am a fan of giving them all the same weapon.
Yeah.
It's just more efficient. I've used 5 plasma cannons with Ulrich to give him preferred enemy. It's pretty good. Not bad.
Yeah, but overall, it's a fun list. The Iron Wolves are super good because you get all those Hunter Killer missiles for free, you get extra armor,
and they can
Storm Bolter. It's super good.
You can go 12 inches and get out.
Yeah. It's really, really strong.
It is. It's very good. I mean, even if you could get some Land Raiders in there with the Wolfen.
Yeah. The Wolfen hit like
so hard.
Yeah, like a brick shit house for sure.
And then you've got the Thunderwolves with the Wolf Lord. You have some really hard hitting units, but like we said, the one major critique from me would be you need a transport for those Wolfen running them up the table. An opponent that's smart knows how good they are. Those guys are never going to make it into combat. They're going to die before they get there.
Yeah, and unfortunately the rest of your list doesn't really have a whole lot of firepower to be a distraction for them. I mean, maybe the Thunderwolves because they're fast, but yeah, definitely get them transports. They'll make the Thunderwolves faster as well, which is good.
But I think this is a good list. It's fun, it's different, and I think you'll do well with it.
All right, guys, go ahead and shoot us some questions, and we'll get them answered for you.
So Sad Clown is saying bulky models can't go in Rhinos, and I believe you're right. Thank you for saying that. Sorry if we confused you. It's They can go in Land Raiders. They cannot go in Rhinos. So sorry, guys. Sorry if we confused anybody. Yeah, you can put it in the Stormwolf. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Actually,
but the Stormwolf is a dedicated transport, so they can't start inside of it.
Nope. Oh, and also, if with Death from the Skies, if that comes full implementation, the Stormwolf will be not very good anymore. Yeah. I would recommend using that points. I would drop it if it loses Skyfire, and then use those points to get drop pods for the Wolfen.
CW Dub, being a gracious opponent, what's the shittiest tournament player you guys have come across?
So, I'll jump and give this first answer, and then I'd love to hear Frankie's opinion. So, I almost never have bad games at tournaments.
No.
Almost never. I find that if you put out good vibes, right? If you're gracious, you're nice, you're engaging your opponent, they will almost always reciprocate. And you can set the tone of the game. And every now and then you'll have a conflict of personality. But again, if you just stay calm and like, hey man, like, okay, what, if you're upset, can you just tell me why?
Yeah.
You can diffuse the situation. I've had one game ever, and I've been to 100 tournaments. I had one game at Hard Boys where the guy was just a dick.
Yeah.
And he even said, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm a dick. I'm like, yep. That was the one time I ever had a game where I actually got extremely angry to the point where I was like about to just like walk away from the table. The guy was just being such a jerk. He was arguing everything.
Yeah.
And he was wrong every single time.
Yeah.
And I was like, please stop questioning me on this. And like, that was it though. But I would say like one in like hundreds, like one in like 600 tournament games where I was truly it was very unpleasant.
Yeah, I'd say my worst like experience of a game was in a friendly game. Actually, it wasn't even at a tournament. Like most of the tournaments I've gone to, I haven't had any problems like ever. But it was in a friendly game, and the guy was rolling dice behind buildings and stuff, picking them up. Like that is one of my biggest pet peeves is somebody that blatantly cheats.
Which doesn't happen very often.
No. But it was in a friendly game, and the guy was rolling behind buildings, got the exact rolls that he needed, picking them up, stuff like that. And it's just, come on, man, does winning mean that much to you? Especially in a for fun game. Come on, dude. But yeah, like in tournaments, like I haven't had that experience. So.
And that's a really good point. We should talk about that because that's pertinent to being a good tournament player, being a gracious and enjoyable person to play against. Like when you roll dice, say what you're rolling before you roll them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll do it because in my mind I know what it is and I'll roll it. Oh shit! I should have told you.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, always offer to re-roll it.
Yep.
Just be like, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what that was. Do you want me to re-roll it? Most times people are like, it's cool. But always say what it is first. Like there's a person I've played against numerous times. I know they don't do it on purpose, but the person almost never says what they're rolling before they roll it.
Yeah.
And it gets so frustrating. You're like, dude, come on. Like, I need to know. Always roll in the visibility of your opponent, always. And if you do and it goes behind a building, like pick the building up or move them in such a way that it's clear you're not fiddling with it. Never go like, I rolled 5 6s. Like, even if you're not cheating, it looks bad.
Yeah.
Just remove all doubt. Just do it in front of your opponent. That's just being a gracious person. And then if the other person is doing shit like that, don't be afraid to call them on it in a polite way. Be like, hey man, do you mind if you could please roll in front of me and let me know beforehand? I'd really appreciate it because it makes it hard for me to follow what's happening. Totally reasonable request. Yep. Jeff Osborne asked a question about Tyranids.
Asking if we can get rid of the synapse chart.
Yeah.
We would love to, but unfortunately that would be really difficult to do.
Yeah, Tyranids need help. We all know it.
Yeah.
Algerdurus Vitus, what bases do you use for Blood Crushers in ITC tournaments? The new Blood Crusher box uses 52 by 90 millimeter oval bases. You guys, like, base size is not super relevant anymore. I know a lot of people really hang on to that, but the same model is coming in different kits with different bases. Like, you can get a Carnifex on a surfboard oval, you can get them on a 60 mil circle, and that's from GW.
Yeah,
and so it doesn't really matter.
It's really hard to say what bases like certain things are on. Within reason, of course. You don't want to see a Blood Crusher running around on a 25 millimeter. You're like, what in the world is that? Like, get close. So get like at least a 60 or a 52, whatever. As long as it's close-ish, it's totally fine. Base sizes really don't mean that much.
Not as much as people think.
So often it comes into play, but it's very rare that it's actually like a big deal. So don't be too like hung up on it. Like, what is the actual base size for this model? Get close to what's in the box,
right?
Or one of the boxes.
It's not a big deal because like now, especially with Space Marines, like some people are gonna have 32 mil, some are gonna have 25 mil. And the thing is, like any benefit you gain from a bigger base, there's a negative that offsets it.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm deep striking, I have a bigger footprint, I'm more likely to mishap, but then I can also spread out and I don't get hit by as many. Not as many models get hit by blast weapons, or it's harder to hide, or it's easier to hide.
Your vehicle.
Yeah. So they don't really sweat it. Just get close, and that's good enough.
Jinking Riptide. If you could remove one thing from the game, what would it be?
Death Stars.
So Reese is saying psychic powers.
No, not psychic powers.
Yeah.
You don't need psychic powers to make some Death Stars. I would just get rid of the ability to make units so durable as to become effectively invincible. It's just not fun. It sucks the fun out of the game. That's what I would take out of the game. How about you?
I don't think I'd take really anything out. Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't really take anything out, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Geek Master K, how backed up are you on this for review? Really backed up.
Yeah, we're like 4 months out.
It's months in advance. And then people get upset. It's funny, Mariana's like, this person was upset. I'm like, what do you want us to do? Cut in front of all the other people that came before you? Like, that's not fair.
But Geek Master, if you go ahead and donate $10, we'll push you right to the front. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we never do it. What we're trying to do is Frankie and Pablo are doing list review articles to try and get caught up. But it's a popular service, and there's nothing we can do. Yep. Unless you want us to have a podcast where all we do is review lists, which would be the boringest podcast ever. Yeah. It's just going to take, you just have to be patient, unfortunately.
Zero discount. What's the next Age of Sigmar bat rep planned? It would be great to see a short form battle report or a full length for the new ITC missions.
Totally. Frankie and I actually we're going to try and get a gaming today, actually.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. Like, I can't wait to put together my Sisters of the Thorn because they look really good.
Sisters of the Thorn.
But yeah, like, that content is going to be coming regularly. The first month we were just hobbying. And then every month through the rest of the summer, we're going to be adding 25 wounds. Yeah. And in August, when we're done, we should have 100 wound, like, full armies. I'm excited. I'm already thinking about what I want to put in my list.
Omega, how do you know what list would make you happy? Being the 16-year-old I am, it is incredibly hard for me to commit to an army.
Well, hey, dude. First of all, it's awesome to see young bloods playing.
I don't know if he's actually 16. He might have just been saying
maybe that. Like the 16-year-old and like inner 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. If you are 16, right on. Eventually, we want to help do like high school programs. That's like a long-term goal to help keep fresh blood coming into the hobby. Yeah. So anyway, that's awesome. But ask yourself like how you like to play the game.
Yeah.
Like Frankie likes to play really aggressive, ass-kicking armies.
I actually lose a lot because I play too aggressive with my armies.
But that's you've always been that like through the years and years we've been friends and played this game together. You've always played lists that are kind of like that, like smash you in the face armies.
They're very aggressive.
Yep. And then I've always played these kind of like you have to orchestrate. I like armies that are complex and that require a lot of thought and overlapping, like synergistic kind of like relationships. I like it when I feel like I'm orchestrating like an orchestra. Allow myself to introduce myself.
But Omega, the easiest way to start with an army is rule of cool. See which army looks the coolest.
Oh, for sure.
That is how I decided on my first army. I was like, this army looks cool.
And think like, what makes you most excited? Do you want to assault? Do you want to shoot? Do you like to do a mix?
Yep.
And I learned this cool trick. I'm super into like, how to like make yourself more efficient and all that stuff. There's a psychological trick you can do. If you have two options and you're having trouble making up your mind about one or the other, there's a trick that in psychology that you flip a coin and you go, okay, I can't decide between a shooting army and an assault army, or between Tyranids and orcs, or whatever. And you flip a coin, and heads it's orcs, tails it's Tyranids.
But then emotionally, you can actually decide.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh damn, I don't want to actually play that.
And then you're like, Tyranids, oh shit. You're like, oh, that means I actually really want to play orcs.
Yeah.
And it's
it works actually.
Yeah, you can trick yourself to like cut through the bullshit and what you really want to do. And that might be a good way to do it if you're having trouble making your mind up.
So I think last one, and this one's actually really important. DA Skyman, I'd be interested to see the general opinion on how cocked a die needs to be before re-rolling it. So this is something that you actually should say ahead of time, before the game starts. Either you're going to re-roll every cocked dice, or you're just going to play cocked dice. You could play cocked dice straight up, or there's also the option where you can put the dice on it, but that one's a little sketchy because people can drop it or whatever. You can knock the die over.
Just establish it beforehand.
I usually just go, I'm going to re-roll every cocked dice, or I'm going to play every cocked dice.
Yep.
The way it is. So.
And I actually do the die thing, but like I know myself. I know I'm always honest, and I will default in favor of my opponent unless it's a really important die roll, and then it went my way.
Gotcha.
I usually put the die on it, and as long as you're cool and you're consistent. You gotta be consistent. That
is the key thing to when you decide on a cocked dice, or you decide on the first cocked dice. You can go going forward. I'm gonna play all the cocked dice, but it's better to do it ahead of time, especially if it's a die roll that goes in your favor. So.
And when in doubt, re-roll the damn thing.
Yep.
Just when in doubt, be a gracious opponent, and that will establish trust, and then you'll find your opponent reciprocates. But yeah, just be consistent. Like don't. Oh well, I went my way. It was cool, but I didn't go my way. Oh, that's definitely cocked. Just be consistent, and you'll be fine. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, make sure to get ready to vote. It's a big one. And make sure July 1st, get ready to get your LVO tickets because the big events will sell out quickly. And we are so excited. We've been working really hard on the LVO. It's going to be freaking awesome in 2017.
Bye-bye.